Europe and Africa as partners, a level playing field? In the interview, the President of Senegal, Macky Sall.
Mr. President, you've been Senegal's president for almost exactly 2 years. That's about half of your 5-year mandate. What would you say about your record so far?
The reason I will only have 5 is because I requested a change in the constitution. I was originally elected to a 7-year term. Now the president is only allowed to serve a 5-year term, with 1 chance to stand for re-election.
2
years are both a short and a long time, but it has allowed me to deal with certain aspects of the policies that were in place when I came to office. First of all, I tackled the most pressing issues. Within the first 2 weeks, I acted to bring down the high inflation which was hurting the price of essential foodstuffs. Then I took on the economy. I put in place an economic plan that I called Emerging Senegal. It was given strong support by the international community at a meeting in Paris. It foresees economic growth in the order of 7% over the next 5 to 10 years. I won't go into the details of what has happened in agriculture, infrastructure, health, or education. I'm talking here about the overall record. We have strengthened the rule of law in Senegal, fought to bring criminal suspects to justice, and increase awareness of tax liability. A week or 2 ago, we opened the National Anti-Corruption Office, so a lot to improve the business environment.
One key aspect of your attempts to bring suspects to justice is the trial against the former dictator of Chad, Hissène Habré. Senegal has set up a special court, the Extraordinary African Chambers, for the purpose. Habré was arrested in Dakar at the end of June last year. How is the trial against him proceeding?
I would not call Hissène Habré a dictator, as I'm not permitted to use such a description. Mr. Habré was arrested at the request of the African Chambers. Why is it called African Chambers? The African Union gave Senegal the mandate, during the term of President Wade, to put Habré on trial in Senegal. So we changed our constitution to allow the creation of special chambers within the Court of Appeal in Dakar. Once the charge was made, we were in a position to appoint judges to the Special African Court, which has been tasked with trying this case. I think the court will convene soon. Prosecutors have already been collecting testimony, in Chad as well. So proceedings are underway. There will be a ruling. But I hope there will be respect for human dignity and the rights of the defense until the question of guilt is established.
When do you expect a verdict for Mr. Habré?
I can't say when the ruling will be made. I presume a verdict will be reached after the evidence has been presented. But the government has nothing to do with this. It's a purely legal matter.
Moving on to the present Chadian President Idriss Déby, wouldn't you say that he is using the same strategy as his predecessor? Habré bolstered his domestic position by opposing Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi, for which he received US and French support. Déby is sending troops into Mali to distract from his restrictive domestic policies.
I would not permit myself to pass judgment on another African head of state. I'm not aware of any current abuses in Chad. If I were, I would be in a position to approach him. But that is not the case. When the African Union asked for an intervention in Mali, there was a great need for it. He has done a lot to restore the honor of African armies. He provided one of the largest contingents alongside France and other countries at a great cost. For that, we should thank and congratulate him. As for what is happening in Chad, we are a global village, and nothing can be hidden anymore. But we should not try to depict his interventions in Mali or Central African Republic as an attempt to distract the international community.
Another one of your priorities is the conflict in Casamance, the area of southern Senegal that has suffered a low-level civil war for more than 30 years. What sort of progress have you made in Casamance?
Peace for Casamance was one of the first areas I wanted to deal with. It's impossible to achieve economic stability in Senegal when you have an unresolved conflict in part of the country. I set about creating conditions for a dialogue between the government and representatives of the Movement of Democratic Forces in Casamance, or MFDC, whether they are underground or politically active. We are now fortunate to have the sort of environment that has never existed before. Now all sides are prepared to talk about peace. We haven't had any conflict for more than 2 years now. We haven't seen any fighting, any attacks. It's a calm situation that we can build on. We are holding separate talks with the two factions of the MFDC. We are being assisted by the community of Sant'Egidio in Rome, and by two senior Senegalese clergymen. So we are trying to create conditions for a dialogue. But we're not just limited to that. We believe that peace should be preceded with the development of infrastructure that will help the local population. We have recently launched a development plan for Casamance, involving considerable investment with the support of Senegal's partners. It will improve roads, agriculture, the situation of women, and reduce Casamance's isolation. We are doing this at the same time as the talks, and there are already signs that the region is benefiting economically. I am confident that if all sides show goodwill, that there will be lasting peace in Casamance.
What role is Germany playing in the development of Senegal? You met Chancellor Angela Merkel. What projects are you planning together?
Our cooperation with Germany is not very dynamic at the moment. It goes back to the years 2010 and 2011, when we were having democratic problems and we weren't a focus of interest. We cut ourselves off. Nevertheless, Germany is providing us with 70 million euros to invest in the renewable energy sector. The Chancellor and I agreed to renew our partnership and expand beyond the sphere of renewable energy. I expressed my wish to press on with the rural electrification and decentralization, which is another of my policies, such as in Casamance. We would like to work with Germany in this regard, and also in vocational training, which is a real strength of the German economy. We can benefit from that model, and German firms are coming here. Fraport will be running the new airport in Dakar. It's just a beginning. Others will follow.
What can Germany and the EU do for West African stability?
Germany is the #1 economy in the European Union, and we expect it to continue its efforts and leadership regarding the European Development Fund, and also in its bilateral relations with countries like Senegal. I also spoke to Chancellor Merkel about Germany's role and its place in African security. It is important to note that Germany is already present in interventions, not through its soldiers, but through logistics and training, as in the case in Mali. There is a small contingent in Dakar. I would like this military cooperation in security matters and in the fight against terrorism to be stronger and more visible. I think Germany has a leading role in Europe and the world. And this leadership should also be apparent in its dealings with Africa and its European partners.
Last question. What would you like the Senegalese and the history books to say about you after you leave office?
I would like to leave Senegal as a state with a strong rule of law. I would like to achieve structural reforms of the economy and to make direct foreign investment a reality in Senegal. I would like there to be enough jobs and that Senegal becomes an emerging country. If Senegal can have a strong rule of law and a developing economy, then I will have fulfilled the mission that the people entrusted in me and that I set as my own objective.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this interview. It was a great pleasure to have you here.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci.